One. Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams. And today, this is not his first time, folks. This is not his first time. My guest today, Florida's own Craig Soubliere. Craig, how you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back on. It's always great to get caught up with you. I love the show, and I love what you're doing. And I love that. What did you just celebrated 8 years?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So here, history lesson. You know this already, but ArmTalk celebrated 8 years earlier this month, right? And truth be told, there were two shows that kind of sparked me to do ArmTalk, right? So one of them was Josh Grant, John Brown. You remember their show?
Yeah,
right?
Hand Control. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, worldwide. Yeah. So they inspired me. Also, Arm Nation Radio, which I missed, hosted by you.
Yeah.
That inspired me too. And it's sad because I can't go back and find the episodes now because was that on a blog?
Yeah, it was on Blog Talk Radio, and then when I deleted my account, I ended up losing those episodes, which I really, man, like when I stopped doing it, I didn't care about them, but now I feel like that would made some great YouTube footage now that I have a channel and stuff, because I had some really great interviews, and I would have people call in. So like Tom Nelson was fighting with Robert Drank during the UAL days. Travis was crash talking me. It was just incredible. So
I think you can still find that one episode.
Okay.
With Robert Drank and Tom going at it, but the actual scene is like a cartoon, but you heard them in the background.
You're right. Yeah, I did put that on my YouTube channel. Yes. I was able to salvage that one. But those were really, and I was doing it before like videos, and people weren't even doing that. Like Gary just finished with Arm TV, and there wasn't a platform that arm wrestlers could just come on and talk trash about the upcoming event and stuff. And that was when the what was the forum called?
Which one?
The old forum that everybody would go on.
Northeast Message Board?
Yeah, the message board. So people would be back and forth with that. And it was really an incredible time, man. I really liked arm wrestling then, because you would go to these like local events and there would be Travis or, Dave or whoever, like all these top guys. And you would go to nationals and it was just amazing, like people were just, it was just incredible. I've been to a couple nationals where just so many studs in the building, and now it's unfortunately that we don't see that. And, I see what's going on in arm wrestling. Of course, there's some progression, but I don't know. It just had an organic kind of feel to it back then to me.
Right. Well, let me get your thoughts. Because back then, and I've told this story before, but I'll go ahead and get everybody all caught up if you haven't heard it. So back when you said the Northeast Message Board, right? That was where everybody went to because you want to find out, okay, who did what? Because then promoters or somebody that went to an event would post the results. So there was that. You're like, all right, cool. Every region had their own rankings. That was cool. You had to select a certain person in that region to do the rankings. That was cool. Gary Roberts was always on there. So you had Arm TV at his highest peak. And if you knew Gary was coming to your tournament, you brought your A+ game because hey, man, this is, like I said, this is before YouTube came out with everybody putting their stuff on there. This was before everybody decided to put stuff on Facebook. This was a thing. This was your shot to get seen because by that time, it was just word of mouth. Unless you were there, it was word of mouth. You remember those days?
Oh, yeah. No, that's when I really got into the sport. It was like, I spent about the first year was like that going on. There wasn't a lot of people on Facebook talking about arm wrestling, posting workout videos. I mean, really, that was, unheard of. And, but like you said, yeah, you'd have to go on there and you'd find out, where the tournament was. People would be bickering back and forth. You'd have trash talk on there. Unfortunately, some of it got a little out of control. So the guys like John and Ingen, they would stop, going on there and posting stuff. But I found it just interesting at that time. I don't know. I just found it like I'm more organic to me, and people were coming to events, and people weren't concerned with how much money they were getting paid, and which I understand because you want to pay for your trips, but those days are gone where people, just paid their way to go to nationals, and they trained their butts off to get a national title, and they were proud of that. And now, they're proud of winning a super match that probably people aren't going to remember in 5 years. So, but I feel like the prestige of arm wrestling has kind of been tainted a little bit as far as like nationals and, these big events that we used to have, even these state championships. You're not seeing the guys, showing up at, estates. I mean, I don't know what it's like in Washington for you guys, but, we don't have a lot of, well, we do have some heavy hitters here in Florida. We're very lucky that we have some really good talent, but, not a lot, not always showing up all at the same tournament, so, but, I think honestly, I feel like, people, like someone just said in one of the messages, where people are entitled, and I feel like, that can be, a thing. Egos get involved, feelings get involved. I like Rob's, rant the other day on his YouTube, not the drunk one that just he posted, but I do love that too. Trust me. I love his stuff, but I kind of agree with him with the whole, like, everybody, we've been in arm wrestling, what it's like 60 years or whatever it's been around. And now, like, people think that we're at this high level, but more drugs are involved in the sport, more pushing the envelope is involved. Not as much in North America. Everything's overseas now. So there's not as much for, the American pullers to like be challenged without, having to travel. So, but I'm glad to see that there's an East versus West in Daytona, which
that's in your backyard, man.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm still going to watch the live stream. I don't know what it is about. Like, it's just a long ass day of arm wrestling, man. Like, as I get older, 10 hours of arm wrestling is it's a lot, it's just a lot.
And in person.
Yeah, I just like, I that's just me. Like, I like to be home and chill, and my kids like to watch the events, and, I support the pay-per-views. I've been to tournaments where I've left the tournament and watched the rest of it on the live stream just because, I don't know, that's just the way I am as I get older. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the sport. It's exciting. I just feel like it's a lot different than when we started, which is going to happen because, of course, there's always progression in all sports. But I feel now it's more like dictatorship, like when I got involved with in 2012 and 13, UAL was coming around, and then I bought into like, oh, I'm going to be a paid UAL athlete and stuff, or professional.
So did everybody else, man.
Yeah. Under contract, and my ego, I had a jersey with my last name on, so I just got into sport. So I was still on that, pink cloud, so to speak, with everything. And, I remember signing contracts saying that they owned my, my whole likeness, you know what I mean? Like, whatever I wanted to do later on that they owned or whatever. And it just didn't make sense to me because I wasn't getting paid. Like, I wasn't one of the guys getting paid. And I see the guys that are getting paid. It should, that's what they should do. But I felt like it's almost like a takeover, and I feel like every 5 years or so we have that with like WAL. They don't want anyone videotaping, and then they have the fake crowd there and stuff. And then, now we see the East versus West, which, there's some high level matches there, which is great. But I just feel like, you can't even make videos or do anything with that kind of stuff. If you put a picture out there that's East versus West, it's like
copyrighted or something like that.
Yeah, they get really upset about that. I had a strike on my YouTube channel because I posted a short video of Adam Warzinski just talking after he won a match. And I just thought what he said was really profound. And then I just, it was a 30-second clip. It was not showing any of the results. I mean, you knew he won, but it wasn't showing any of the match. But anyway, yeah, they're pretty sensitive to that. So I just stopped even like sharing any kind of anything but just written results with, how someone performed, like Devin, and Levon. I might have wrote a little post or a comment about that event. But yeah, it doesn't, they don't want you to use any of their material, which I guess is understandable when they put all the money into it. But I feel like if you're promoting the brand, I mean, everybody should be able to, you know what I mean? Like if I get 1,000 views on a video and it's East versus West, I mean, it's not hurting them. You know what I mean? Like it's just promoting them. So I feel like, I don't know. It's just when you look at people and who they are and how they act and how they present themselves and, where they live and, everything about them, you can figure out that, it's part of their nature with people, to get upset. And, for people too, to like what are they doing there? They're like blocking people and banning them from different federations. It just
that's crazy.
When people do that, it just shows that they really don't love the sport of arm wrestling. They want to control it. You know what I mean? So,
well, world champion Cody Merritt says, tell Craig he's looking super lean, by the way. So
Cody's awesome, man. That's the nicest guy in arm wrestling right there, man. That guy. It's amazing.
It doesn't hurt. He's a lefty, just like me. So I like that.
Yeah. I'll stay away from that.
Honest question. And I like to get your thoughts because on my other podcast show that I'm a part of, me and one of my co-hosts is in the chat. We were talking about, this was yesterday, how do you feel about these different organizations that come in to play? It can be a good, can be a bad thing, right? Do we have too many of them? Are we oversaturated? Because one of the things I have issue with is that with every new organization, the pros and cons. The pros is that, oh, wow, there may be something that may interest me if I'm not going to be one of those elite pullers. The backlash, the con to that is the fact that now they have a different set of rules. So Tim Tomich, good buddy of mine, he's also a co-host on the show with, Nathan Williamson and Ryan Espy. And we were talking about the MAC tournament that Ian Carnegie just put on. I'm not going to shit on him, but, I will say he had a match, probably his main event match between Jocelyn Brisson and Heidi Kortner. But under that particular match, that was WAF rules, whereas the rest of the matches were a different set of rules. And I'm kind of going, okay, so Tim made a comment, and he was saying, I think this is going off of the Arm Gods thing. He says the reason why Western Europe or even Eastern Europe are so good is because they got one set of rules everyone abides to. Whereas in North America, USA and Canada, we got all these organizations, but not all of them follow the same rule set. And I think that might be kind of watering things down. We'd love to get your opinion about that.
I mean, I think there's more factors into why the Europeans are better than us than just, keeping the rule set. But I feel like, yeah, that's a big part of it. But they train harder. They take it more seriously. I mean, you see how they train and how they push themselves. And, it's a whole different level. And we see that now with East versus West. We see where we stand against the top guys in the world over on that, side of the planet.
Right.
As far as the different rules set, I mean, I'll give you an example. Like I did combat, Florida Combat Sport Arms, Flow Arms, basically Brandon's event. He had this event called the Duels, and you started in the strap, and because there wasn't a lot of people there, you did the best of 5 super matches. I mean, I'm not really a fan of pulling in the strap right away because I have a pretty good hand that and I can do more as far as my hooking ability without the strap, you know what I mean? So
right.
I don't really pull good in the strap, and I'm not a good endurance puller. So, but I did that just for the experience of trying new things. So does it help me when I do a different rule set? No, it's confusing to me, so, but I feel like you can adapt to different, because I mean, I grew up in Florida, so we pull. There's so many different rules.
God, you guys got tournaments like every 2 or 3 weeks, any which way.
I mean, the refs, sometimes, before we got, certified refs, I mean, that was questionable sometimes, but, yeah, I mean, I don't, I feel like if you're training for an event and you know the rules, you're gonna just focus on that, I guess. I don't know what to tell you really, because I feel like you should adapt to all the different rule sets. And if you I mean, I feel like people are making excuses at that point. I mean, what's going on. I mean, are you really losing a match because of the rules? I mean, I don't get that part. So
yes, I'll say yes and no.
okay.
And it's this is the and I've told this story before too. Now, when I say this, people, I'm not picking on nobody. These are just the facts. I want to say 2017, maybe 2018, and that little went back when Wall was at his peak, right? And Marcel Barboza, like I said, I'm not beating on the guy, but this is just a straight up. I like to use this format for this argument. We all know Wall, right? We know running fouls, the 7x9-inch pad where it's more on the back, and when you're used to that in that league, you adapt to that. Well, late when Wall season was done in September, wrapped up. Well, back in that time, what happened in November? It was always the Zlati Nemirov Cup, right? Up in Poland. And Marcel went down there to compete and went 2-and-out. And I thought, why did Marcel go 2-and-out? Elbow foul, elbow foul. So you go from a few months ago earlier where, you kind of got away with that. If you pin, okay, go ahead and reset the match. But now it's more strict, and you don't have that extra 2 inches on the back when you're dealing with a Nemirov, a big tournament like that. And within a few months, you have to readjust yourself. Now, that could have been the reason why he lost. It could have been other stuff. I don't know. But for me, it was man, because you thought Marcel was just going to crush everybody and actually win it. And to find out that he went 2-and-out, not because he got beaten, it's just, elbow foul twice. Those are the rules. And so to me, it was just kind of like, And also, Nathan says it wasn't just the rules, it was the table too, because it was almost like, from what Ian Carnegie was explaining to me, and I talked to him about this earlier today, it's almost like the WL pad, but kind of just rotated. So you have more freedom to go side, all that kind of stuff. And then the pin pads were kind of like in a C cup, like the letter C. They were curved. It was if you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. But do you think we are trying to, and I'm not trying to put you in the spot, when you have all these different organizations, are we too busy trying to reinvent the wheel? You know what I mean?
So I feel like that's an equipment problem, not really a rule problem. Like I feel like that's you got to adapt, and yeah, that is way confusing. If the pads are bigger, if the table's at a different height that you're not, that can be nonsense. I feel like we should have dimensions of an arm wrestling table, and that's the way it should be, like all around, and then there's not a problem with that. As far as the rules, yeah, maybe so. Marcio, I feel like he has issues with elbow fouling, and I feel like when it's a strict rule set, it doesn't favor him. It's more, like WAL definitely favored him. I think the pads had a lot to do with that as well. So, yeah, I feel like, and plus the talent over there is amazing too. So, I mean, it's incredible. I feel like there's lot of factors, but I will agree. Everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel. Everybody's trying to make arm wrestling better, which I like that, but it's like this. When a new person gets into arm wrestling, they can be annoying a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I was that guy, you know what I mean? Right. So it's just a reflection of who I was when I first was in the sport.
We've all
let's just talk about. I'll use myself as the example. Like, I'd post videos every day about training, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I still get help with my training still, because it's a process. Arm wrestling training is so different from any other training I've ever done. But, the thing about it is, you think that, the sport is, you just are so into the sport right away that once you get into the politics and other things in the sport,
yeah,
it can start kind of, not making it as fun sometimes. But I feel like this year I've kind of rekindled the fun in arm wrestling now, and I'm just glad to be competing. You know what I mean? I don't care if I win or lose. Well, I do care if I win, but I can take losing. You know what I mean? I'm not avoiding tournaments because I want to keep my ranking. You know, like I felt like getting ranked was a really bad thing for me because I was trying to hold on to it. Now it's not that important to me now. So
no, I totally get. I mean, there's the thing. I mean, my wife would tell me, you know, like, babe, you can't go to every tournament. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Because once upon a time, in the Hook rankings, 2021, my highest rank, left hand 242, was 11. And at the time, I was like, okay, but I was going to multiple events throughout the year. And, you know, I can't always sustain that because, you know, life happens, things happen. And then all of a sudden, you're not ranked anymore. It gives you this thing in my brain that, oh man, if I want to maintain that ranking or go even higher, I got to go to this tournament. I got to go to that tournament. And sometimes it's just not in the cards because then you got to take a step back and go, well, shit, do I have time for a family vacation? We want to go somewhere. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I have my fun in the sun as being just one spot below the top 10 in North America at that weight class once upon a time. It was fun while it lasted. And now I just want to, you know, compete and have fun and not deal with all the stress and the hassle. You know what I mean?
No, 100%, man. I feel like it takes the love out of it sometimes because you're trying to, you know, hold on. And I'm talking about like me because I'm not on that elite level. So when I was ranked 8th in North America, that was a big deal getting a win on Doug Allen. And even though he's coming off the couch or whatever, but it's not the version that we're used to seeing. But it got me in that range. And now I think I'm ranked like 19th because everybody's been winning ahead of me and it keeps pushing me down. And some young guys like Clifton just beat me a couple weeks ago. So he's now ranked in my spot. So, yeah, man, I feel like I don't care about the rankings anymore. I just want to pull and I just want to get better and better. And yeah, like you said too, like, you know, FAL started when they first came out, they had a tournament every month. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do a tournament every month, treat it like training. But I just couldn't, you know, and I got injured. So it's just hard as we get older to be able to pull all these tournaments and stuff. Oh, and yeah. as much as I say I use it as a practice, it's still like, you know, ready goes and it's just, you know, and you're stressed and stuff. So it's, you know, it's a lot of work. And like you said, like my kids are just getting into jujitsu now. They're competing in jujitsu. You know, my son's doing a lot of high level competition for the kids and stuff now. So I'm really just focused on, you know, him and my other daughters, you know, she's competing. So, you know, it's just all about them training and I'm training them and, you know, I get my workouts in. But it's really about my family now, you know, so and I just like to do arm wrestling to kind of just test myself, you know, and keep my training going. Yeah. And, you know, I do want to get back up ranked and I would like to get some better matches and I have some goals and stuff set, but, you know, I'm far from where I want to be. So, you know, I feel, you know, that arm wrestling just gives you a way of just keeping your training alive and kind of testing yourself, you know.
So what are those goals? Because I know, you know, well, actually, before we get into that, have you had a goal, but then something else came along, you kind of go, well, let me put that goal of
arm wrestling dude. It happens
because I got this one coming up. Did you ever do that before?
Sometimes it gets changed because these people elevate to such a high level. Like, and I'll give you an example. 2020, I had a super match with a kid named James. God, I forget his last name. He doesn't arm wrestle now, but he's a real strong kid. So we had a super match or whatever. And this is when Chance arm wrestled Ryan Bowen in my garage. It was a huge practice. Anyway, this is 2020. So after the tournaments or whatever, me and Andre are pulling and I'm crushing him, both arms, like crushing him. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. So this is, you know, and I was like, okay. And then he beat me at a tournament and I was like, okay, I'm going to chase after him. And then all of a sudden he's just on another level. So, yeah, so that goal kind of changed where I was trying to be more realistic with my stuff. But I mean, I would like to get to that level and try to be competitive. But there's a lot of young kids in Florida that are really good, that are, that kind of keep me on my toes and stuff. So, but I would like to get into, the top 5 in Florida in my weight class. And I would like to break the top 10 again in North America if I could, especially now with all the elite guys really pulling, East versus West. You're not seeing Paul Lynn pulling for rankings, or protecting the number 1 ranking, whatever he's ranked. So I feel like, for guys like us, maybe it's a, opportunity to get, ranked in North America, which I know people don't really, take that, highly, I guess most people, but I think people at our level do, you know what I mean? Like, so it's something for us to strive for. But I'm not fixated totally on it. I just would like to compete against those guys. I mean, I've been in the sport for 12 years. I know what it's like to compete against the number 1 guys in my weight class. And, I'm not at that level, you know what I mean? So,
right. But at the same time, though, you've been given opportunities, to be on some of the bigger stages. And how about this? Because you and I are on the same boat when I talk about this, because we've been on there before. The Monster Factory, you've been there before. I've been there before. And, to be there, it's not like, I'm going to just show up to the Monster Factory. I mean, you got to be invited basically pretty much. And the fact that you're on there, share your experience on being on that. You pulled Roger Learn, correct?
Yes. And yeah, man, it was I'm not going to get into the hanging out and, all that stuff as much, because it's a weird situation and I don't want to get into other people's personal business. But I had a great time with him and his girlfriends. They were great. His wife, girlfriend, whatever. But those people were really good people, had a good time. It was weird kind of hanging out with your competitor all weekend. But
yeah, no, right.
But, with that being said, Michael called me and he said that he wanted to see this match personally. So I was like, oh, that's cool, man. I really appreciate it. So, and I'm not going to turn away an opportunity to compete at Monster Factory. I wanted to check out Michael's new gym. Him and Rebecca are doing a lot for arm wrestling. So I wanted to take advantage of that. Artem was there. So we hung out together, Robert, Kelly. We all stayed in an Airbnb. It was a great time, man. I had a blast. I got to meet a lot of great people and see a lot of great matches, man. It was an amazing time. Me and Roger had a war, man. It was I knew it was going to be that way.
That piqued my interest.
I feel like I just got lucky in that match where I hit my hit. And for me, it was all about just crushing to the side. I felt like if I could get on my side of the table in a good position that I could win. But my whole goal was to try to flash pin him because I knew he was more of a battler. Yeah. So it was great, man. I had a great time. He's a great guy. He's been really kicking ass ever since then. He's a great competitor. I'm a fan for sure. And we could have that match 10 times and we could each win 5, you know what I mean? Like it could be back and forth. So, so I was really just grateful for that opportunity, grateful for the win. I called out Ryan Bellinger because he's ranked in the top 10 and I pulled him in 2020 when he was 198 guy. But I felt like, hey, that'd be a good match for me to sneak in. But Monster Factory got changed. I got a couple things on the go, and now Ryan's pulling in the 220 Invitational.
Yeah,
which that should be really interesting. I'll be glued to that. I was gonna be in that, but Tim Talmadge gave me his seat. He was giving me his seat, but I couldn't make it work. My kids are competing, and I just can't afford to fly out to. I think it's in Arizona, isn't it? At the Arizona States.
That is this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. So June. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So anyway, I'll be watching that. I'm super stoked. I got Craig winning it. I don't know if anyone can stop him. I feel like he's on just another level. Like he got a little bit bigger, and he's just like in the stem cells and stuff. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't really, believe in all that stuff right now, but it seems to be helping people. I mean, they've all the guys that I've seen that are training hard and getting therapy, they're doing really well. So, but it's going to be interesting. I'm sorry. I'm not saying Craig White on my, he's going to be there. Andre, I think Andre is going to win. That's who it was. I don't know why I'm saying Craig, but Craig and Andre, I think, are going to be the two guys to watch. Yeah, I was back and forth with that because I thought Craig at first, and now I don't know. I saw Andre beat Jerome Loudon, and I just feel like, I don't know, if Andre comes big and, like peaks really good for this, I feel like he's going to be one of the hard ones to beat. Yeah, but that's going to be great, man. I'm going to be watching that. I'm interested to see how everyone does against each other, because that's my weight class. And to me, those are the top guys in the country. And Craig's not really in that weight because he's a 198. He's a number one guy in 198, I think now. So
I think he won the 198, which gave him the
yeah, that's right. So he crushed everybody in that one, so but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. What do you think about that? Who do you got? I mean, you got a bunch of guys from like your neck of the woods there.
It's so well, Tim's in it, I think. Is he not in it?
No, he said he was because he's doing the tournament. He just didn't want to do that. That's what he told me a few weeks ago because he called me and asked me. So, and that guy is doing so much great things for arm wrestling, man. And it's exciting because he's got a lot of things planned that are going to blow everybody's socks off. I mean,
yes, this is true, and I am not going to let the cat out of the bag.
No, but I want people to think about that because it's going to be insane. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. So, and I feel like that direction is where we need to go, so, and that too. So, and I always said that too. I always thought that, that's what we needed in the sport. So, and it's going to be exciting and I'm excited, dude. But yeah, this 220, what do you think, man?
You know what? You can go either way, but I will say this, even though Soubliere is not a bona fide 220, with the way he dominated the 198 class, and we're talking guys like Robbie Russell, Adam Warzinski, right? Jason Merlot, Artem. I mean, he blew through. I mean, Craig finished undefeated?
Yeah.
So you look at it that way, man, how can you not? And to put him in there, his hit is so fast and so strong that if you are not ready, if you are not locked and loaded and ready to go, and you're pulling Soubliere, he's going to knock you off kilter, And can you recover is what it comes down to. I mean, he should be one of the favorites, but if Andre, usually a certain match or a certain win somebody has will catapult that guy's confidence. So, case in point, that Florida, was it the East versus West? If you was in Florida where he beat Jerome Loud?
Yep.
Yeah. You take that and go, okay, man, that's a lot of confidence. Now, all of a sudden, you're trained and ramped up, and you're getting ready for this 220 class. You got to put everybody down. It's kind of hard. I don't have a favorite, but I like to see what Craig can do in the 220 class. So we'll have to wait and see it. I think that is, I want to say Friday night, because Saturday is the tournament. You got all the Australians and the Latvians there, and the girls from Sweden are going to be there. So I believe the 220 round robin will be Friday night, if I'm not mistaken.
And AJ Henson's thrown his hat in, so that's going to be real interesting because AJ was a big force, when I first got into the sport. So who knows? Roger Cunningham, man, Kenningham, that guy's a stud too. Like if he stops Craig or gets into his, because he's kind of a defensive hook guy, so it's interesting. There's some really good styles that I'm really interested in. I don't know much about Arson. Michael Bedwell, he's another up and coming. You got the two Ryans, Ryan Bollenster and Bellinger. So I feel like, it's a hard one to pick because there's so many different factors that go into it. But
you're talking about Ryan Ballesteros.
Yeah, Ballesteros. Sorry. He's a beast, dude.
He's a rage puller, and Nathan just told me it's Saturday before the tournament. So there you go.
Okay, cool.
Ballesteros is a rage puller, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like he bites down so hard on that mouthpiece.
I know, dude. I love it.
So that's
He's
cool.
intense. He's intense. I love that. And Bo Olson, man, my boy Bo is coming back, and I know he's training hard. So I saw him at Monster Factory. But I watched Andre just toy with everybody, basically. So it's crazy, man. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be real interesting. I'm really excited, and Leray, man, is like amazing, dude. It's amazing. Him and Tim putting these events on. And even
Yes.
the female one they had, was that last week? I mean, or the week before?
Yes.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, I never even heard of that girl before. She smoked
Jocelyn?
everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that was amazing. That's exciting for Sarah because now it gives her a challenge. And I feel like that's really good for women's arm wrestling, man, because it gives fresh eyes, new people. You have this Canadian monster that's, over there training and just phenomenal. And she looks like such a nice, bubbly girl too. I never caught your show with her, but yeah, I like to see these new up and comers really, push themselves and really, change the sport up a little bit because it gives women's arm wrestling more excitement for the women out there. I don't follow women's arm wrestling, but
Right.
it's exciting for women and any plus that pushes arm wrestling, that's a great thing in my opinion.
She benches 315, right?
Oh, I believe it, dude. I believe it. I would not want to mess
like,
with her. Yeah, dude.
She said that, but she said like in this quiet voice, and,
Yeah.
oh, that's 315. I'm like, I have never benched 315 in my entire life.
No.
And she said that with like, hey, yes, Nathan, he said Jocelyn would win. And I'm telling you right now, like you said, Craig, you need from time to time, you need that. I don't know if you want to call it upset or what, but you need that change because now it creates a rivalry. It kind of goes, Sarah's like, oh, it's going to light a fire under me now because she's still, in some ways, maybe chasing Gabby. And now you got Jocelyn to deal with. I'm like, well, crap. Now what? And it sets the tone, And now that Jocelyn's got everybody's attention, now if you're a promoter, I'm like, I want Jocelyn coming to my event now because she can, hey, what do? You know what I mean?
And it lights a fire. I know Sarah, and I know that would just light a fire. She'll be hitting it, training. She'll be pulling at Mayhem next weekend, and that's a round robin. And she usually dominates. She pulls the, I think, 176 guys class and really does well. So, yeah, I feel like that just motivates people, and I feel like it's a good thing,
Yeah, and you know what? That's not a bad thing. And I think because I've been trying to follow the ladies and stuff, they're starting to get back to that where it's like it's not about, well, how much money is it paying me? Does it pay for my weekend? It's not so much about that anymore. They're like, hey, I want to pull the best. What do I got to do? They just show up and pull. And for the ladies, it's just y'all got to come out. I understand. You're like, well, is there ladies payouts? I'll say this. I like what Tim's doing. Hey, you know what? If ladies, you want the spotlight, you got to show up. So Tim's like, I'll do you a favor. How about no entry fees for the ladies? Just show up and pull, right? But how many promoters? I'm sure you've probably put on a few events in the past. More often times than not, as much as we want the ladies to get a piece of that pie too, how many times have you had a tournament and you got cash money or awards and all of a sudden they don't show up? And now you're kind of stuck with awards that you can't do anymore. And all right, this money's going to this person, because they don't show up. So when promoters are out there, ladies, just fucking show up. Because then you'll start, when y'all show up, it'll be like, oh, okay, cool. They'll take you more seriously. But if you don't show up, then it's like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
No, for sure. And that's why I don't see like Chuck's having female arm wrestling, because he has daughters and he's, supports the sport. He's old school, but, I haven't seen a female, girls pulling in any FAL or any of these other events because there's no one there really. I mean, unless I'm missing something, but I don't see women pulling in Florida as much anymore. Maybe a couple people, but I feel like doing the invitational like that, because women just will show up because they get to pull 12 ladies. I mean, when do you go to a tournament and you get to pull 12 different people, or 11 different people? Sorry. So, I mean, it's incredible in that aspect. And maybe if they have maybe a lighter invitational and, keep doing these, and then more ladies get involved, maybe you could see some prize money for the women. And once they get to that level, I mean, I think it's like growth. I mean, maybe it's a rekindling of growth for the women. And when you have great athletes like, Sarah, and what's the lady's name? Jocelyn. She's
Yeah.
amazing too. So like, and then you got all these other girls that are pulling, Sarah, which you had on after the East versus West qualifier. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of great, that really jacked girl that just competed. I think she was at either King of the Table.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, Elizabeth. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another great competitor. I mean,
You
so
got Merlene, you got
yes,
Danielle,
yes,
Rieren, Jolene. I mean,
it's
I think
good.
now, Craig, and I don't know, maybe, do you think that now that women's arm, because you still got Angie Rose,
Yes,
now that the pool is so deep now than it was maybe 5 years ago, hell, maybe even 3 years ago, the pool is so deep now where it's like, oh, okay, you know what? And now it's like, okay, ladies, and we got this new influx of new lady pullers now. And shout out to Katie Marie. She's recovering from a broken arm, because she has that powerlifting background. So she's bringing power. So again, you see all that kind of stuff and go, hey, ladies, like this is where we're at right now. Feel free to make it happen. Show up at these events. Not so much about, how much money, just like, hey, who's going to be there? Like, look, I'll give you this comment from our Parker Kimber. Jolene called out Angie Rose for a potential match at the Brazilian Cup, which takes place in November, for a 3/4 spot after the round robin. Exciting to see the girls getting after it. Exactly.
nice.
So now I thought one of my things after this round robin, that if anything is going to create one-on-one matches down the road.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, and I'm glad to see that she's already looking to book another match and continue this train of domination. So I see big things for her, and I feel like she'll be a great example for more women to get into the sport that have that power background. Hopefully a lot more strong women will get involved. I mean, we're so lucky now. We got Brian Shaw interested in arm wrestling. I mean, and that's just going to create huge waves. I hope he really gets serious about arm wrestling. And in a few years, I really feel like a guy like that can be at the top of the food chain.
Yeah, who knows? I think somebody made some wild prediction that, hey, if you actually give him 4 or 5 years, he may be the one to unseat Levon, but we don't know where Levon's going to be by that time. But when you get
hopefully he's still alive. I mean,
yeah,
it's
right.
incredible the way they test the envelope over there. I feel bad for these guys sometimes, man, with their blood pressure and craziness that they are putting their bodies through, man. It's just insane. But each to their own. But
Right.
when you're big like that, it's just as you get older, I mean, your body can only tolerate so much. I mean, you look at Dennis with all the damage he's put himself through now, his hips and everything else. It's all related to pushing the envelope of strength, man. I have my aches and pains. My lower back is killing me. I'm in pain all day long just from, heavy squats and deadlifts when I was young. I can't imagine, those guys pushing the envelope like they have. And, your body just, takes a beating. You look at Ronnie Coleman, you look at these guys that train heavy and don't really take care of themselves later on in life, man. They're living a miserable existence, in my opinion, when you have to live in that much pain and suffering.
I'm almost 50, and I know I get up in the morning and my hips are sore, like you said, my shoulders. I got this freaking arthritis and bone spurs in my right hand. I'm like going, man, I'm just thrashed. But I say to myself, could be worse, because when I see people like Ronnie Coleman, and I'm sure I was a big Ronnie Coleman fan. When you see him move the amount of weight he did, I'm like going, dude, and then all of a sudden now you kind of go, man, was it worth it though? Yes, 8-time Mr. Olympia. And you got to go, damn, bro, was all that worth it? Because now he's using a wheelchair. He's using those little walker deals, it's like going, fuck, man. Like it's just for him to get around. It's just like, man, he can't even stand up straight.
No, he said that he would do it again, but that's a competitive, crazy drive that you have when you're on that elite level. And I can understand that. I mean, because when I was young, I had this thing where, I didn't see 30 or 40, you know what I mean? I thought that was like old man age. And now that I'm 52, I'm like, hey, man, I could live for another 25 years in good health and really enjoy my life and not really be concerned with, pushing the envelope. But I'm not on that elite level either. So I'm a realist. So I know that I can be competitive. But, if I was competing at like, East versus West for, the two or the 100 kg belt or whatever, it'd be a different story. But I'm glad that I'm not. And I'm glad that I'm, more focused on longevity and health at this age now. So,
you know what, Craig? I am so glad you said that. A realist, because you said that out loud. I said that, and I got a lot of shit for it. So someone asked me, because I had made a comment about East versus West. I'm like, I mean, I'll watch it, but that ain't for me. And someone asked me, said, you mean to tell me if Ingen offered to pay your way there, flight, hotel, whatever, to go on East versus West, you wouldn't go? I'm like, no. He goes, oh, well, you're an idiot. I'm like, well, why is that? Because I'm not on that level, right? And like you said, a realist. I know it's what they say, stay in your lane, right? I know
so say this, though. Let's change it for a second. Me and you get an opportunity to pull each other at East versus West. Okay? Like, I am not going, and I want you to be honest with how you feel, because I feel this way, and it's because I just don't want to go to Turkey, and I don't want to travel that long for arm wrestling. I'm not really, you know what I mean? Like, me and you can pull in our backyard, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I can figure that out differently. But if I had an opportunity to pull some Russian guy or something and my trip was paid for, I don't want to go to Turkey, man. And I have personal reasons why I don't want to travel overseas, but I just, it's not for me. So even if I was at that level, I'd be the guy that wouldn't be competing over there, because I just don't have the desire to compete over there. And really, to be honest with you, just with the not to beat a dead horse, but just the way people react and treat others, I don't respect people that do that. So I'm not going to support it on that level to sacrifice, my time off work and, go over there, compete. I just not for me. And I can say that because, like I said, I'm a realist, so it's different. And people are going to say, oh, well, if you were that great, you would go. But I really wouldn't. I'm just not interested in traveling over there. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't have any desire. Plus, like I said, once you cross that line with people, sometimes I just don't feel like I respect people that are very vindictive against, women or other people for that matter. So, I mean, that's just my personal preference on how to treat people. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but in this day and age where I'm at now in my life, and my perspective on things, I just try to treat people with kindness. I just had a long debate with, over religion and stuff with people online, and it never got nasty. We just disagree on our belief system, and it's okay to have those conversations, but to go on and say, F you and whatever, and be disrespectful to people, I just don't like having conversations like that with people anymore. I don't get caught up in my feelings. People were posting about what Robert De Niro said, and I'm like, who cares what they said? Like, it doesn't affect
what he said. Didn't affect my life one way or the other.
It doesn't affect your life, and people get too caught up in their feelings and they waste their emotions on things that don't matter. My family is what matters. My job, my training, my group of people, my circle is small for a reason. And that's just my personal preference in life. But I always want to conduct myself in a manner where people respect that. And if they want to talk shit about me, they can talk shit about me if they want to, but I just will always conduct myself with a kind demeanor, because I don't want to be that guy that's mean to others for no reason because I'm upset of my feelings. You know what I mean? Like, it's like losing a match and then hating the person that beat you and go, it's so dumb. It's just dumb. So
the old version of me where
me too.
Didn't want to lose, and it's like going crap. You're pissed off. It's like, guess what? If I go to an event here in the States, I'm not. This is not going to Turkey, but if I went to a tournament, right, and I pumped myself up, I did all the training, and I still ended up on the short end of the stick, where I'm at now in life, it's like, well, guess what? My wife didn't leave me. My kids still love me, and I still got the house. I'm doing good. That may sound kind of corny, but that's just
it's the reality. It's reality. I mean, you're just being truthful. It's the reality. People have these imaginary evils in their mind where they think that, oh, they lost, and people are going to go, oh, he's a loser. And it doesn't really matter because you're not trying to get validation from those people. It's what your family means. It's how they react to you. And, you might be disappointed that you sacrificed time and money away from them and you never got the result you got. So in your mind, sometimes you might feel, oh, that sucks or whatever. But, by Monday morning when I get back to work, I'm back to the grind, and it really motivates me to train hard, but I do like to win, but I don't feed my ego with that either, because it's like, I don't even collect trophies anymore. Like, I just throw them in the garbage. I don't even want a trophy because I just don't want. I like cash, but I don't even, like, if I'm not first, I'm last and I go home. Like, unless there's cash and they want a picture of all the, you know what I mean? But I'm known to just leave, and it's not that I'm upset. It's just that I don't want a second or third place trophy. I mean, I remember staring at all my trophies one time at my old gym, and I started laughing, and I said, what a dummy I am. Like, I'm feeding my ego, and I just threw them all in the garbage. And I went through that with bodybuilding when I retired in 2012. But I'm like, I'm just not into that, feeding my ego that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way I feel. I don't want to have a bunch of medals. I just feel like it's kind of silly to me. But I kept my medal from Monster Factory and a couple awards that were unique, like a hatchet that I got from Dave Chafee's event, stuff like that. My first Florida State title. But as far as all the medals, just stuff that I trained hard, my whole career for that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I won that, but it's got dust on it. It's not displayed. You know what I mean? It's just put away. But I don't know what it is. I just don't like to live in the past anymore. I like to, you know what I mean? Like Tom Nelson would always say, it's in the past, and, just get forward. And I really like that philosophy in life is, you can't live by all your accomplishments. And I just feel like it's just feeds my ego, and I just don't like the way that makes me feel.
No, I get that. I mean, these two, trophy cases back here behind me, and to me, it's more of a why I keep mine. And I'm getting to a point now where it's like, if we uproot and move somewhere, I got to carry all that with me. But I sit back and go, you know what? Oh, I remember that trophy. I remember what it took to train for that. I remember that day, who I beat, and I remember that match. And for me, it's cool. I mean, I don't like go back and go, it's just, for me, it's just like, you know what? It's cool, because if I wasn't arm wrestling, what would I be doing? You know what I mean? So it kind of gave me a reason to kind of work out. If I don't work out, I'm getting my ass kicked, right? So it kind of gave me a reason to work out with, So for that, I like that. But on that topic of medals, there's like, for me personally, there's a couple of things I want to attain. I got close to national one year. I got third place, right? I got close to a world, IFA world. It was second place, masters, and I'm right there. So when my career is all said and done, I want to be able to go, at least a national title or a world title. So I'm still kind of chasing that, because there were so many times where you've probably met so many national champions and world champions, and there were times, and I really never told anybody this, but except for my inner, teammates, there were times where I felt like I couldn't be in a certain conversation because I didn't have those accolades. I always felt like that. And that's probably the insecurity in me.
That's like, those imaginary evils, man. It's your mind telling you these stories, and it's not true. No one cares. Like, no one's getting together and go, we're all national titles. We can't talk to Jody because he's only a state winner. Like, that's just the imaginary evils we put in our head. And it's just part of going over those things in your mind and just realizing that it's all nonsense and you're making it up. You're making it up because no one really cares about that. They're talking to you because they like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know one award that you won. I can't remember any matches that you won, but I like you as a person, and I love that you support arm wrestling. So to me, I like you because of you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and I feel like people just put so much into their own heads. They're their own worst enemies, you know, and I can say that because it's just the way I feel about it. And I know that it's true because everybody says this stuff to me. And just like you're sharing, it's like people think that, you know, they like, do you ever go to a tournament and think, man, why am I here? I suck, or, you know, I'm not going to win this, or like it's just all that battle in your head. And it's like you said, it's insecurities, but I like to call them imaginary evils because they're not even true.
If I ever go to, this is real stuff right here, Craig. If I ever go to a tournament and have that feeling like, man, why am I even here? It's time for me to walk away. Because the one thing I told myself, because, you know, even my wife and I, for like, you know, going for a walk, whatever, it's kind of touchy, because we'll sit there and talk about next coming event. Let's go ahead and try to get your hotel taken care of or whatever. Or because she used to be a travel agent. So she's kind of, you know, good with all that kind of stuff. And she goes, you know, well, how long do you think you'll do this? I'm like, I don't know, babe, but I'll say this, though. The minute I stop having fun is the minute I need to walk away. You know, because you don't want to be that guy that stayed too long. You know, in certain sports, some people kind of stay too long. And I don't want to be that guy, but the minute I just stop having fun with it, it's time for me to be done and go do something else. That's why, you know, I got this podcast. That's why
You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. We can do this till we're 70.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying, dude? You just don't have to compete all the time. You just can train and hang out. And you love the sport. You're doing this podcast for 8 years. Every time you do it, you have great enthusiasm. I mean, you're always push a positive message. So, I mean, I see you doing this, dude, for the rest of your life because I feel like you just love doing it. And it's a fun thing for you. You have a good attitude with it. Too. Yeah, when I say I'm talking about, it's just a mental psych out. You know what I mean? Like when you're at a high level and you just don't feel good. And then once I get up there, it all goes away. It all goes away. It's all this stuff that builds up for a match. And it could be starting at 2 weeks out, a week out or whatever. And, you know, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm going to destroy this guy, like, you know, and whatever. But that's the mindset you should have. But it's just the challenges of that self-doubt that we all have sometimes. And some people don't have it. Others do. And me and myself, sometimes I just, you know, I'll have these conversations with myself that I'm like, yeah, I'm here because I train for this, you know, and it's just a procedure that I go through.
Who's that guy? P90X, Tony Horton, right?
Tony Horton, yes.
He had a thing, and it says, and you know what? When I started doing what he would do, his saying, when I replay my mind over and over, it kind of made me feel at ease. Like he says, one of his sayings was, "Do your best and forget the rest," because that's not saying I don't lack confidence. That's just me saying, you know what? Okay, if I don't finish first place, it's not the end of the world. And I think so many people get caught up into that where I got to finish first. I got to finish first. Well, fuck, if you're in a class with 13 dudes, only one of them is going to finish first. So, you know, and for me, it's not like, oh, hey, let's just go ahead and pull. I'm here. I'm just happy to be here. No, I'm going to give it all I got. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That we're okay. Well, you know what? It's all good because who wants that extra added stress on you? I know I don't. So I'm like, I'm gonna go in there, whoop some ass. If it happens, cool. If it don't, cool. Guess what? You and I will have a beer together. We'll sit there and shoot the shit, talk turkey, maybe do some after pulling, exchange, probably, you know, workout tendencies or whatever. You know, that's what it's all about. I think sometimes, and it still happens. You know, the after pull is probably the best thing. But I would love it for it to get back to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly, man. And I feel like that's one thing I love about the sport is the togetherness, the knit of the family almost. You know, you could travel and see people that you just know on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever, and then you talk and meet, and it's just great. You know, people are like, they're just hardworking people in the sport. You know what I mean? And the cream of the crop, like the Devin Larratt's and stuff. I mean, I've hung out with him, messaged him, asked him questions about stuff. He answers. I mean, it's like having the Michael Jordan of arm wrestling right there. It's like, so it's amazing. It's something that no other sport you can do that. You can't just, call up LeBron and go, hey, how do I work on my jumper? So that's the one thing I love about this sport. I feel like it's just amazing. The people are amazing. And the after pulling and the practicing and the hanging out and, the families and watching people's kids grow and stuff. I feel like that's just amazing. And watching people lose weight and smash golds, man, that's incredible to me as well. So I feel like this sport has got so much positivity and so many exciting things. It's just amazing to be a part of. And I see myself doing this forever, man. I just see myself training and, this is coming from a guy that gets injured all the time. So I like the challenges. And, I feel like it's the only sport where, I can really let loose and let the adrenaline and the aggressiveness go. And I'm not getting choked out or punched in the face or whatever. So,
well, didn't you used to be a bodybuilder too?
Yes. So, but I mean, just over the last year, I took jujitsu with my kids for 4 months, and I realized how like horrible and hard that is compared to arm wrestling. So I'd rather stick to that combat sport. So
right.
let the young kids roll around on the mats, So
speaking of which, and when you said let the young guys do that, so you're in your 50s. I'll be 50 in a couple years. And you know what? I find myself watching social media, and I do it a lot, and I'll see somebody do a lift. And I'm like, I wonder if I can do that. That's that competitive person in me going, all right, let me see if I can do that. And then I go do it. Sometimes it works. Other times it doesn't. And then I got to take a step back and go, dude, you're not 27 no more. Chill the fuck out, And it's like, yeah. Do you ever find yourself doing that?
Yeah, it's monkey see, monkey do, man. And that's what we get caught up in the sport. And Brad Grundy is the man to talk to about that, man. He's been posting videos on his YouTube, just the training and how like we get caught up in doing these Devin Larratt lifts and they don't they don't transition to the table at all. Unless you pull like Devin or whatever, some of these lifts are kind of nonsense because you're not, engaging the muscles that you would engage, when you're pulling. So
right.
I like Brad's philosophy on doing exactly. Because I used to do a lot of isolation where I just isolate my wrist and do curls. And now if I'm curling my wrist and I'm doing whatever motion I'm doing to get into the hook, and my whole body mechanics is in that exercise now, so that I don't get into a habit of, just getting up there and doing just something stupid. Everything flows together. The connections are there. So, talking to Brad and then following some of the material that he posts on his YouTube, it really puts it in better perspective. And he talks about, ego lifting. And I feel like when we got involved, what was it? Table curls, I was in, and I realized, that was wrecking my elbow, and I don't even pull with my bicep that much. So it's like kind of why would I waste my time doing these things? So I feel like I thought Devin was trolling people at first when he did those lifts. So,
right.
Because I feel like you could troll the whole arm wrestling community because they'll jump on, because our training is so unique. You know what I mean? So I used to be the guy that bought the new handle. You know what I mean? Like, I got to have this flat handle. There's no way I can survive without the country crush or whatever. And I got about 4 or 5 apparatuses I use, and most of them are belts. So it's
right.
It's crazy.
Well, it's funny because, you and I had a breakdown with some of my teammates a while back. I said, you know what, guys? I mean, honestly, you have to find what works for you, because I can do everything to a T what John Brzezinski does. Doesn't mean I'm gonna, doesn't mean I'm gonna be like him. I can do every lift that Devin does. Doesn't mean I'm gonna be like him,
But I feel like people get sold that pipe dream in their head. They think that, though. Like, they think that if I can do the same thing that this guy's doing, the template, it's going to work. But it's just beneficial to you. Like, I've used, like, the Bishop's training techniques. I've used a bunch of different, I train with Ray. I learned a lot of different techniques and stuff off of people, and then I blended into what I need to use for the way I pull. And, and John's a good example because like he doesn't even lift weights. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he just trains arm wrestling. So our sport is so unique, and it's just crazy because there's no template. People practice, people train, practice. People go to the gym every day. They train, they practice once a month. There's no combination, but people, are making gains, and we're seeing the progression. And you just have to find out what works for you. It's like dieting. You have to find out what works for you. And it's usually just a balance of good, whole, healthy foods. It's not being part of a tribe of way of eating. And it's the same thing with lifting. You have to find what works with, better for you. And I feel like over the past few years, I'm eliminating certain exercises that I was wasting my energy doing that wasn't benefiting me at all. And I feel like it was more so probably feeding my ego because I was able to lift more weight. You know what I mean? So,
right. Here.
And that's the thing with social media now. Everybody wants to get the likes and the views, and they're posting videos of them lifting weights. And I don't know if it translates to the table or if they're just doing it for clicks and stuff. But I'm gonna have to take off here in a minute, Jody. I got to drive my kids to jujitsu. But I really appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate what you're doing for the sport, brother. I'm excited to see you get back on the table. You're always intense. It was great watching you at Worlds a couple years ago, and that was exciting, right? Worlds.
Oh yeah. And I know it's gotten bigger since then, but like I said, my next tournament is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Nice. Have you been to Texas?
I went there for the Travis thing with Waxahachie.
Okay.
So I was there for that was the last Gary Roberts Ruler of the Nation weekend. And Chance was down there.
Was that the camera guy tournament?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was, basically it came down to like Artem and I were like the favorites or whatever. But
yes.
It was a fun weekend, and I haven't been there since. That's been like 3 years. So I'm happy to go back down there. Excited because another thing about traveling outside your region or backyard or whatever you want to call it is because now it's like I'm leaving my comfort zone. I'm going to Texas where it's like there's badasses everywhere, and I want to sink my teeth into some of those guys. So
good. That's good. Yeah, man. Say hi to my friend Robbie Burnett if he's there.
Yeah, he'll be there. He'll be there.
I love Robbie. He's a great puller, very underrated, but once again, a guy that doesn't travel a lot. But he's a great competitor and good friend of mine. So man, Texas is everything's big in Texas, and that includes arm wrestling. So that's amazing. I wish you the best of luck there, brother.
Well, thank you, sir. And hey, thank you for coming on the show. I know you got to run and pick up the kids, but
appreciate it.
Give me a buzz later on. You and
I will
talk turkey about some other stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to let your viewers know that I'm going to have Jody on probably my channel this week, and we're going to discuss a lot of things that aren't related to arm wrestling, but of course we're going to talk arm wrestling too. But I really feel like Jody has a lot to share with his experiences in life and his job and what he does. And I feel like we can all benefit off of his story. So tune in, guys. I'll be posting on my socials about that. So I just wanted to let Jody's audience know that we'll be planning on that here in the next few hours, actually. So that's
We'll call that real talk.
That's real talk. That's right. Yeah, dude. Thanks, Jody. I really appreciate you having me on, brother.
All right, man. Take care, man. We'll talk to you soon. And that is a wrap, everybody. So, Craig Soubliere, like I said, in 8 years of doing this show, he was one of the guys I'm thinking, man, I used to tune into his blog, Arm Wrestling Nation Radio. The other guys too, Josh Grant, John Brown, Hand Control Worldwide. Watching those shows is the reason why I got this show. So huge kudos to them, because without them, I wouldn't be doing this. And, it's always fun for me just to sit there and have people as a guest on the show and just talk shop, Like I said, I do this because I love it. Ain't nobody getting paid for this. I'm just doing it because I love it, So, again, everybody, thanks for chiming in. It's Whopper Wednesday, which means this weekend, if you live on the western part of the country, busy, because you got Arizona State. We already talked about that. Our Sports Entertainment's putting that on. You got Latvia will be in the house. Australia, the ladies from Sweden will be in the house. And you got the bonus round robin of the 220 class. Then, of course, you got the tournament. Also, go a little more Western. You get to California, the Apricot Festival, otherwise known as now the Kenny Hughes Memorial. And the overall champion gets a custom-made belt. Check out Bill Collins for that. Check out his Facebook, and you'll see it. It's pretty damn awesome. So, everybody, thanks for joining me on the show, and I'll see you when I see you. You guys take care. All right.